Stocks trade firm and steady with advances far outstripping the declines. Metals as well as industrials are the big gainers, while telecom and IT are the soft spots today.
Tata Consumer fails to meet expectations on sales but ekes out better than expected margins. Weaker than expected sales of tea and Nourishco impact the performance.
ICICI Pru Life Insurance kids as margins shrink. Tata Elxsi slides on a dip in revenues. MCX slips on missing expectations, but Cyient, DLM and 361 gain on strong growth in incomes as well as profits.
Tesla posts a sharp drop in revenue and profit but looks to get back on track by accelerating the launch of low-cost models and by venturing into new markets.
Hello and welcome. You've tuned into Business Lunch. I'm Nisha Podar. With me is Sonal Bhutra. So today the market has been stable. In fact, if we really take a look at Nifty 50 and let's take a look at lunch hour market trade, it's only a 50-point swing on Nifty 50 and half a day of trading session has really passed. Nifty 50 at 22,450 odd levels, closer to the high point of trading session, just about 20 points away from that. Sensex 2 gains 287 points at the moment. Bank Nifty is showing slight outperformance to the key indices, but what's really doing well is the mid-cap universe. Far outpaces the other key indices, 0.75% up in trade, and that's also increasing the market strength and the breadth, because the advance decline ratio is in favor of the advances. On my screen at the moment, the high beta metal stocks are the ones which are the bigger gainers in terms of percentage, along with the pharma big boy Cipla. And on the other side, in terms of the downward play and the draggers in terms of percentage, are some of the consumption names like Tata Consumer, Titan, to name a few, Sonal.
Oh yes, so it is looking like a decent market so far, but the big question remains, when do we cross the 22,500 mark? That has been an important level to watch out for a long time. But as Nisha pointed out, the broader markets, they continue to do well. We do have a lot of earnings which are trickling in, so those stock-specific moves is something that we are going to be talking about. The PSU index is doing really well. IT is lagging today. We've been seeing some profit booking after numbers coming in from some of these IT majors, so that is something that we'll be tracking closely as well. But as always, let's begin the show by focusing on some of these news pieces. Now it is on the housing subsidy scheme. The government has been working on a housing subsidy scheme of sorts right since the PM first made the announcement in his Independence Day speech of a new home loan scheme for the urban poor. Earlier, it was anticipated the scheme will replace the credit-linked subsidy scheme, which ended in March 2021 and which gave subsidized loans of up to 12 lakh rupees to the urban poor. We are now given to understand that the contours of the new scheme that the Prime Minister proposed last year are likely to be vastly different from the old CLSS under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana for urban India. Sapna is standing by with the likely details. Sapna.
That's right. So clearly, it's a complete revamp of what the earlier credit-linked subsidy scheme was. So in a nutshell, basically, the scope and the size of the housing loan subsidy under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana is likely to be widened considerably. The government has been planning to kind of include shopkeepers, small businessmen, self-employed traders, professionals into the fold of the scheme. So that's one. So keeping that in perspective, it's going to be most likely that in the times to come, any kind of a housing loan subsidy for the urban poor under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana program is going to be linked to the value of the house. For example, there is a proposal which is under consideration of the government that probably houses valued up to 35 lakh odd rupees, maybe the home loan size can be up to 30 lakh rupees. So this is a big markup in comparison to whatever housing loan subsidy schemes that have been functioning so far. That's one. under this, again, it may just be possible that, the income criterion will not be very important in terms of, the self-employed showing their income proofs, traders, professionals, shopkeepers showing their income proofs. At times, banks are very edgy on these issues. So, to kind of smoothen that out, this is the perspective. That's the second element that we're talking about. Third, of course, this is going to be around the interest subvention that the government is discussing at the moment is around 4%, which is not bad. So, if you're talking of a home loan, say an average ticket size of around 25 lakh odd rupees, and the current market rack rates are around, say, 9 to 10 odd %, even a 4% subsidy over here could be quite substantial. But as I said, the caveat here is going to be that it's going to be linked to the value of the house. So you may be thinking of a larger ticket size in terms of a home loan, but it will be limited as a percentage to the value of the house. So that's what needs to be kept in mind. Going forward, we are given to understand that the budget allocation, of course, for the scheme is going to be much larger than what the government had kept for CLSS. It may also be possible that under the new scheme, as in how it's announced, it may just be possible that the targeting of 1 crore fresh fresh home loans could be on the card. So this is a proposal as of now. You have to wait and watch and see how this goes forward.
All right, Sapna, very big story of public interest across the country, I must say. Roti kapda or makan, and makan is the biggest ticket size, and that's what government is aiming at, really improving the condition on and affordability on. Moving on then to some important court cases today, and the Supreme Court has raised the issue of electoral bonds again after a plea before the Supreme Court has cited that the electoral bonds was a scam and required a SIT probe. In fact, our colleague Ashmit Kumar, who's been tracking the developments very, very closely from the courtroom, joins us with all the details. Tell us, Ashmit.
Well, the election season clearly inspiring some courtroom action here at the top court of the country. The latest that we hear is that on the electoral bond front, the NGO Common Cause has filed a fresh application. Under this fresh application, they've made a whole slew of charges. It all boils down to a prayer that they've made in their application. They're seeking a court-appointed SIT in what they are calling is the electoral bond scam. What they're saying is that this is a scam. They're pointing out, they made various assertions saying that unlike the 2G as well as the coal scam, there's a very clear, distinct money chain, a money trail that can be detected. Number two, the petition goes on to say that there are companies who, by way of donations through these electoral bonds, have secured benefits in the form of approvals, licenses, contracts, lack of regulatory action to the tune of lakhs of crores of rupees. And that is something that this petition points out is something that needs to be investigated. Not just that, the petition also takes a dig at the investigating agencies, the ED as well as the CBI, saying that in many cases, companies have been allegedly found to be paying protection money to these investigating agencies to protect themselves from any adversarial action, any investigative action by these regulatory bodies. So that again is something that the petition says is a fit case for investigation. That is something that the Apex Court is yet to consider. What the Apex Court, however, is already considering is the issue of the EVM VVPAT verification. That is something that will be taken up at 2 p.m. What's important is that the bulk of the arguments have been concluded, but there are very pointed, specific questions that the Apex Court has asked in terms of storage, maintenance of VVPAT machines, of EVM machines, and what the memory storage in these VVPAT machines looks like, what are the modalities, whether or not there is any room for hampering of these machines. That is something that the Apex Court is seeking clarity on. 2 p.m. in just a while from now is when the Apex Court will take up this case.
It's a busy day for you, Ashmit. Of course, we'll keep coming back to you for more updates on whatever is happening as far as Court Corner is concerned. With that, we'll do one thing. We'll slip into a short break. When we come back, Tesla is the big story from Wall Street. It surges in trade after reporting its first quarter earnings. We'll get you more on that on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're still tuned into Business Lunch and we are talking about global stories now. Shares of Tesla surged over 12% in after-hour trade. The EV maker reported its first quarter numbers and Elon Musk said the company would prepone plans to produce affordable electric vehicles. Parikshit is joining us to tell us more. Parikshit, it continues to be in news.
After laying off 10% of Tesla's workforce, Elon Musk wants to accelerate launches of new cars, including a $25,000 low-cost electric car, and bring these to the markets before the earlier deadline of second half of 2025. With this announcement, Tesla stock, which has seen a 40% slide this year, saw a 13% gain. But here's something that puts a question mark on Tesla's plans to set up manufacturing facilities in new countries like Mexico and India. In its information deck for investors, Tesla said that the company wants to raise production by 50% from 2023 levels and wants to fully utilize current capacity of close to 3 million units before investing in new manufacturing lines. Tesla also said that all new models, including the more affordable ones, will all be made on the existing production lines. This comes at a time when Tesla is considering applying for the new electric vehicle policy in India to avail duty concessions and commit to Make in India as well. Musk recently postponed his India visit, during which he was expected to make an announcement for the India market. However, during the investor call, Musk did say he wants to accelerate plans to enter new markets. So let's see how his next announcement on India will be. This has been a weak quarter for Tesla, with total revenues down 9% to $21.3 billion, the biggest decline since 2012 due to lesser deliveries, inventory mismatch, price cuts and higher operating expenses.
You said it, Parikshit. Amongst everything, what we are keenly watching out for is the deferred visit or delayed visit of Elon Musk to India. In fact, listen into what Tesla CEO Elon Musk said during the company's earnings call.
In terms of the new product roadmap, there's been a lot of talk about our upcoming vehicle line in the past several weeks. We've updated our future vehicle lineup to accelerate the launch of new models ahead of previously mentioned start of production in the second half of 2025. So we expect it to be more like the early 2025, if not late this year. These new vehicles, including more affordable models, will use aspects of the next generation platform, as well as aspects of our current platforms, and will be able to be produced on the same manufacturing lines as our current vehicle lineup. Giving up anything that it's significant that I'm aware of. So we've had a long period of prosperity from 2019 to now, and so if a company sort of organizationally is 5% wrong per year, that accumulates to 25-30% of inefficiency. We've made some corrections along the way, but it is time to reorganize the company for the next phase of growth.
Okay, that's about Tesla, the share surge in aftermarket trade. Moving on now, sources are telling CNBC-TV18 that Sharp Corporation has plans to establish a significant presence in India's semiconductor market. Sharp is reportedly wanting to set up a big display fab facility outside of Japan. Ashmit is joining us now with more details on this one. Ashmit, what are you picking up?
Well, the semiconductor mission of India appears to have gotten a leg up with a significant partner expected on the way. No details have been finalized yet. No documents have been signed. Ink is yet to meet paper. However, sources what they confirm to us is that Sharp, the Japan-based display fab entity, is actively considering setting up a display fab unit here in India. That is a big step forward. What we're picking up is that they're looking to bring cutting-edge technology here, and to that end, they're looking to set up a display fab here, which will be north of 1,000 acres. What insiders tell us is that this would be, if it does fructify, it will be the largest such a display fab facility of Sharp outside of Japan. There's an active interest being expressed here. There is consultations being done by Sharp. They're meeting various stakeholders. They're in fact also in active discussion with various states to identify what the ideal location of this facility can be. Keep in mind that of the 4 semiconductor units in India, 3 of them are currently in Gujarat. So Sharp is considering questions along those lines as to where this facility can be set up. What's important here is that Sharp is looking at this facility, if and when it does fructify, as an important industrial hub, not just for meeting local demand, but also for catering to the global supply chain, also for exports. So that is a big consideration that Sharp is looking at. Of course, just to reiterate, ink is yet to meet paper, so details are yet to be finalized, but clearly expression of interest coming in from a significant display fab player, Sharp.
That's right, Ashmit. In fact, expression of interest coming in also gives a huge leg up because our own private capex cycle has just taken a turn for the positive, and even global MNCs are looking at us. But I want to ask you on the spectrum allocation bit also. We understand there is clarification from the government that allocation of spectrum will primarily be for mobile services and via the auction process. Tell us more, because this has been a very important and a debatable topic.
Well, let's share the benefit of context with our viewers. On December 15th, 2023 is when an application was filed by the centre here before the top court, whereby they had in fact sought to indicate to the top court of the country that there are non-auction means of assignment that the government is considering as far as spectrum is concerned. That was on December 15th. On December 18th, we had the telecom bill being tabled in the parliament. Subsequently, it was approved and vetted by the parliament, which allowed for such non-auction means of assignment. What highly placed sources within the government are telling us is that this should no point should be construed as access spectrum, which is traditionally auctioned. It is not the government's case that this auction will now be allocated. What the government, however, is looking to clarify by way of this application before the top court, as well as what they confirm to us, is that there are very narrow cases, such as the case of law enforcement, such as spectrum required for defense, for the Met Department, for space communication, for backhaul spectrum. These are very narrowly defined cases where the government is looking to allocate spectrum administratively. This will not influence the spectrum auction that we see that the government has in mind with respect to the telecom players. That will not change, but there are very limited, narrow cases, administrative use of spectrum, which the government hopes it can then allocate for effective use of that spectrum. That is something that the Apex Court is now seized of. They are yet to take up this matter. It'll be important to note the stance that the Apex Court reflects on this position now being taken by the government, that under the Telecom Act, there are non-auction means of assignment as well possible for spectrum in use.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Ashmit, for joining us. So it's clearly a busy day for you otherwise as well. But it is also a data-heavy week on Wall Street. The first quarter GDP print is due on Thursday, while the March PCE data, the Fed's preferred inflation gauge, is due on Friday. Let's listen into veteran investor Howard Marx, who is also the co-chairman and co-founder of Oaktree Capital, as he gives his outlook on the Fed's rate path going ahead.
The U.S. economy is doing quite well. And so it's not clear that it requires stimulus. I mean, today's Fed funds rate of 5.25, 5.5 is a little bit of an emergency measure designed to cool off the economy and inflation. One of these days we'll declare victory against inflation, and the Fed will take rates down to something moderate and sustainable. I think that's in the threes. But I think that, from the period 09 through 21, the Fed funds rate averaged 0.5%, and it was zero most of the time. I think that interest rates should most of the time be set by the free market. That is to say, the negotiations between borrowers and lenders, as opposed to having a central bank tell people what the rate should be. So I hope we're going back to that climate.
All right, time for a short break on Business Lunch. But before that, here's a programming note for all our viewers. Our Friday special offering, Editors Roundtable, is now coming at a new time. Catch the biggest market headlines of the week with expert analysis from market veterans and our editors every Friday now at 3:30 p.m. Don't forget to tune in. Welcome back. You're watching Business Lunch, and slight bit of gain, especially seen in the bank Nifty, 0.5% up in trade. And in terms of stocks, in the last few minutes, Cipla has pipped the entire metal pack and become the largest, percentage gainer, 3.7% up in trade at the moment. So markets looking good. Sensex too close to gaining 300 points. All right, moving on then. The industrial hub of Gurugram is all set to go to polls on the 25th of May, with 24.9 lakh people eligible to cast their votes. Now, the Millennium City of Gurugram has 9 assembly seats, including Rewari and Nuh. Now, the district of Nuh had seen widespread communal riots last year. The expectation across Gurugram are diverse, and the India Alliance is trying to defeat the Rao Inderjit Singh of the BJP, who wants to win a 6th consecutive time. So the competition there for the polls is intense. Take a look.
Commonly known as the Millennium City, Gurgaon hosts the India offices of over 250 Fortune 500 companies, including PepsiCo and Nestle, as well as the headquarters of the International Solar Alliance. However, the Gurgaon Lok Sabha constituency comprises of 9 assembly segments, which are a mix of urban areas, rural areas, and urbanized villages. Approximately 25 kilometers from New Delhi, the city of Gurugram is one of India's leading financial and tech hubs. The city attracts 70% of total investments coming into Haryana and is a top manufacturing hub for automobiles, electronic components, chemicals and FMCG goods. But despite the economic prosperity, Gurugram is notorious for poor civic infrastructure.
There are some glaring issues which come to mind. I mean, in terms of infrastructure, roads, there's a lot that can be done. If considering that this is supposed to be a Millennium City, I'm sure there's a lot that we can expect from our local MP.
Over the last few decades, Gurugram has seen rapid development, but a lack of clear infrastructure planning has led to civic issues. Not all residents are sold on the kind of development the region has seen.
द्वारका एक्सप्रेसवे हो गया हमारा, इसका 3 बार उद्घाटन करा दिया। कई फील्ड में इन्होंने बहुत अच्छा, जैसे राम मंदिर बनाया, लेकिन राम सिर्फ हिंदुओं का या मोदी जी का अकेले का थोड़ा ही है, वो तो सभी का है, हमारे देश के भगवान है।
Of course, not everyone is unhappy.
हम मोदी को वोट क्यों ना दे? हम सुरक्षित है जी कति हर चीज से, बिजली अब भी 24 घंटा आती है जी हमारे पास।
While Gurugram has a large Hindu population, there is a significant Muslim population too. Nuh in Gurugram, with 80% Muslims, has one of the highest concentration of Muslims in North India. The district saw violent riots last year, which according to the police charge sheet, was sparked by the killing of 2 Muslim men at the hands of cow vigilantes. People we spoke to say that while this is still a simmering issue, it's not the only one.
दंगे होते हैं तो इसमें नुकसान आम पब्लिक का ही होता है, उनका बेरोजगारी छिन जाती है, काफी नुकसान हुआ लोगों को, कास्ट को लेके भी रहेगा, जॉब का भी रहेगा।
I don't think communal issues are prevalent in at least in this area where we live.
Voters in some pockets in Gurugram are also divided over the Agniveer scheme. The India Alliance has promised to withdraw the short-term Agniveer scheme for the armed forces.
हमारे यहाँ के बच्चों ने तो अग्निवीर स्कीम आई थी जब से भर्ती सब छोड़ दिए।
इससे बढ़िया कोई अपने जॉब कर लेगा वो अच्छा है, 4 साल में कौन शहीद होगा बेचारा।
To win the Gurugram seat, the BJP has fielded Rao Inderjit Singh yet again and is angling for a 6th term. JJP, the BJP's former ally, has fielded singer and rapper Rahul Yadav, also known as Fazil Puria. The Congress, meanwhile, which was once the dominant power in Haryana, is grappling with tremendous factionalism and is yet to announce its candidate. 5-time MP Rao Inderjit Singh is fighting for his 6th consecutive term, and this time against an India Alliance candidate. But the task is not going to be easy for him at all. On the top of anti-incumbency, voters have flagged issues like poor civic infrastructure, lack of investment, jobs, and even apprehensions against the Agniveer scheme. Clearly, the electoral battle for Gurgaon would be one to watch out for. In Gurgaon with video journalist Allocation Singh, this is Abhimanyu Sharma for CNBC-TV18.
Okay, that is our special report on the election exchange. We'll keep getting you updates on this one. But for now, we'll take your leave on this edition of Business Lunch. Stay tuned. Mid-Cap Radar comes up next.